for something that will bring a smile to your face, it certainly made me laugh today as the headlines broke that Cackling Kamala Harris, Vice President of the United States of America, in the NBC's Vice President poll has ranked lower than anybody else in the history of the poll. She literally ranked negative 17. And if you have to ask yourself why, you've probably not seen her best moments. So we put together a reel for you. Here she is.
I can imagine what can be and be unburdened by what has been, you know?
She understood what was possible, unburdened by what has been.
We have the ability to see what can be, unburdened by what has been.
Have to believe in what can be, unburdened by what has been.
And we must always see who we can be, unburdened by who we have been.
The United States shares a very important relationship, which is an alliance with the Republic of North Korea. And it is an alliance that is strong and enduring.
I went home one day and I said, well, why are conservatives bad, Mommy? Because I thought we were supposed to conserve things.
Everything is in context. My mother she would give us a hard time sometimes, and she would say to us, I don't know what's wrong with you young people. You think you just fell out of a coconut tree? You exist in the context of all in which you live and what came before you. I love Venn diagrams, so I just do. Whenever you're dealing with conflict, pull out a Venn diagram, right? And so, you know, the three circles. And so I asked my team, right? They're fantastic. Geeking out right now. Think of it then in the context of, like, I like to think about a lot of things in the context of a Venn diagram. I love Venn diagrams. Always ask, is there a Venn diagram for this? I'm telling you. About the significance of the passage of time, right? The significance of the passage of time. So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time in terms of what we need to do to lay these wires, what we need to do to create these jobs. And there is such great significance to the passage of time.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are looking at, should Biden pass away, and the reason why he now has to live forever, who will be president of the United States should that man pass away? I sincerely hope he lives forever, to be honest. I mean,
it takes a lot to say that.
I know it does.
That's the alternative.
Like, keep juicing him up. Keep
juicing him up.
Kamala Harris is the least popular vice president in history, and that's the only achievement she has to her name.
Indeed.
So far. But
she has made history. There you go.
There you go. It's true. She is only one heartbeat away from the presidency, and that's a scary thing. You wouldn't be surprised. I mean, you'd be shocked, but you wouldn't be surprised if you woke up tomorrow morning and Kamala Harris was the leader of the free world. All it would take is for Joe Biden to choke on an ice cream cone, or to fall off the stage at the end of a speech, or just go wandering off
again
and never come back. And increasingly, Americans are worried about that very prospect. 68% of Americans say they're concerned about Biden's mental and physical capacity to do the job. The 32% who aren't concerned, we're concerned about their mental capacity. We could show clips all night of Joe Biden, but we've taken all up our time with Kamala Harris. But here's just a couple. Just this week, Sleepy Joe, not for the first time, saying end quote when reading from the teleprompter. Show clip.
And the next day they sent someone out to survey her yard. As Beth wrote, this is the best thing that's happened to rural America since the Rural Electrification Act brought electricity to farms in the 30s and 40s. End of quote.
The funny thing about that is it's no longer shocking. He's done that on many times. You expect it. But it was worse last week when Biden, hosting a meeting with Indian Prime Minister, suddenly suffered must have been a glitch in the matrix. And have a listen to what he said.
I was just thanking, anyway, I started off without you. And I sold a lot of state secrets and a lot of very important things that we shared.
He's been selling state secrets, and the trouble is, I think that's the first time I've actually believed Joe Biden.
It's pretty good, isn't it? And of course-
That's a Freudian slip right there. It's just like, do tell.
But meanwhile, the bloke who's been accused of hoarding state secrets, which is, of course, Donald Trump, he's now been indicted twice for two separate things, keeping secret documents at Mar-a-Lago and, of course, these trumped-up charges about him doing creative work when it came to Stormy Daniels and money. It doesn't seem to be hurting him in the polls. The new polling out showing what Republican voters are thinking shows that Donald Trump between April and June has jumped from 46% to 51%, so he is far and away the number one choice to be the Republican candidate, versus Ron DeSantis, who's dipped from 31% in April to 22% this month. Every time they go after Donald Trump, they cannot land a blow. All it does, and we were saying this when it all started out, all it does is gee up his supporters, because they go, hang on a minute, you're trying to take down our man because you know he's a serious threat, so you'll do anything you bloody well can, and we're not going to have a bar of it. They're literally handing him his campaign on a platter.
I heard on the radio today someone said, his popularity's improved in spite of the court issues. Because he's become a martyr.
Yeah. Oh, it's played into his hands beautifully, and he loves it because everyone loves a martyr.
Well, let me give you some Trump news that will truly make leftist heads explode. An investigation by Reuters has found Donald Trump is the only living president who is not descended from slave owners. That's right, Joe Biden's forebears owned slaves. His great-great-great-grandfather had a 14-year-old slave back in 1850. Even Obama's forebears, through his white mother's side, had slaves. But Donald Trump, the man they say, oh, Trump's a racist, he's the only one who can say, at least I'm not descended from slave owners like the rest of you, because his family immigrated to America from Europe after slavery was abolished. But it gets worse for Biden and Obama, these guys who carry on about slaves, and yet we find their family owned slaves. The Democrats are demanding compensation payments for African Americans. Guess how much money they want to pay out for slavery reparations, Caleb?
Hit me with it.
You got to do the Austin Powers. $14 trillion. The national debt of America is what? 32 trillion. They want to add 14 trillion to that in reparations.
So does that mean that Barack Obama has to go to the bank and take money out and then give it back to himself? Because on one side of his family there were slave owners, and on the other side of the family there was slaves. Like, where does it end?
Madness. It doesn't end. Of course, we're going to end up talking about that in Australia, aren't we, Liz? Because voice leads to truth-telling, leads to treaty, leads to more of this nonsense.
Follow the money. It's all about the money.